Good morning, all you folks there in YouTube land. Thrash Pondo here, and as promised, I brought you more content this week. But before I get to the content, I must ask that you like, subscribe, forward, share, and all of the things I'm constantly guilt-baiting you people into doing for me. That being said, one other thing before I move forward with the content, I must correct a glaring incorrection from last Sunday night's live chat. As I'm sure many of you remember, I referred to the song which I never liked, Don't You Forget About Me, as having been brought to us by the band Simply Red. It was in fact brought to us by Simple Minds, both literally and prosaically, as it were. Simply Red was the band who brought us, among other songs not particularly high on Thrash Pondo's hit parade, Holding Back the Years. You know the one that goes, yeah, that one. Yeah, again, not a fan. Sorry, but not a fan. So anyway, the correction is thus. A song I never liked was in fact not brought to us by a band I never cared for, but a different band I never cared for, and that clears that up. And now moving forward, I'm gonna get, toe deep. I can't say knee deep. I'm gonna like dip my fingers in the water, and duck out of the room we did, and finally kick off my Retrospect series on the greatest cartoons of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'm going to start with a particular favorite. You probably don't know what this is. It's Thundarr the Barbarian. I believe the first post-apocalyptic Saturday morning cartoon ever. And, of course, one, if not my favorite. And this was brought to us in the 80-81 series, and was actually created by Steve Gerber, who is probably best known for, many things, but his work on the Transformers is probably his biggest for those people on this channel. And of course it came to us from the Ruby Spears production company, who's best known for Ruh-Roh, Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? So yeah, I think Scooby-Doo and Thundarr would have been a great crossover, but that's just me. Now it was near. I think I'm gonna need my glasses for this one. I'm starting to get eye strains. I'm trying to do this without my glasses, but that is much better. Some amazing voice work here. The narrator was Richard Tofeld, who's probably best known for the robot, the B9, on Lost in Space. Thundarr was, of course, done by the voice of the 70s, Robert Ridgely. Best known in live action, he was the Hangman in 2. If you get both of them, put them in the comments below. 2 Mel Brooks films. He also did the voice of Flash Gordon and Tarzan of the Jungle. So yeah, he was prolific back when I was a kid. Ookla was, of course, brought to us by... I didn't even write his name down. Silly me. But he's the guy who replaced Alan Reed when Alan Reed stopped doing the Flintstones. What is this guy's name? I promise I'll leave it in the comments below. But a great voice actor. He also did some live action stuff. You could find him in Hogan's Heroes and some other whatnot. And of course Ariel was by Nellie Bellflower, who actually did an episode of Happy Days and was in the John Ritter flick Americathon. And it's just what I promised. It's you have to remember, the movie Conan the Barbarian was huge at this time, so they wanted to do something in the spirit of Conan the Barbarian. So it's basically this guy Thundarr who rides through this post-apocalyptic wasteland. Earth has been destroyed by a near miss with a comet. Sorcery has replaced science. Starting to sound familiar? Yes. Let's see what happens when we blend Conan the Barbarian with wizards. And Conan rides this wasteland with his friend Ookla, who is sort of he's like a Chewbacca type, but he's really a lion-human hybrid. and Ariel, who is sort of a princess wizard in training, and hilarity ensues. Now, again, there were some great minds which actually worked on the initial concept. Jack Kirby, kingpin of the vintage comic book world. Alex Toth, very instrumental in early high action, high fantasy cartoons. They worked on earlier editions. They didn't see the project all the way through, but they were there at its conceptualization. And you can certainly tell. You can certainly tell, particularly that of Mr. Toth. And of all things, it only lasted the one season. It was canceled to make room for Are You Sitting Down? Laverne and Shirley joined the army. Now, for those of you who think I made that up, no, I actually caught an episode. One episode. Well, a part of an episode when I was a kid. It's sort of like Gomer Pyle meets Laverne and Shirley. And it's every single stupid cliche about joining the army that you've ever seen, going back to, well, all I can think is Buck Privates by Abbott Costello, but the tropes actually go back before that. The jerk sergeant who just lives to make your life miserable, in this case, voiced by Ron Palullo, and he actually is a pig. Their sergeant is actually a pig for reasons unknown. And it's basically them getting in trouble and doing KP, or trying to get out of work and doing KP, and, well, I meant to say hilarity ensues, but it was dreadful. Even by Saturday morning cartoon standards. But it is what it in fact is. Now, the most interesting thing that I've always seen with Thundarr is the amazing influence it had on a later mega breakthrough cartoon character, He-Man. And I can't help but think if Thundarr had been given a chance to continue, it may have actually filled that He-Man niche itself. I mean, Prince Adam and Thundarr, well, again, one is in this sort of wizards-inspired post-apocalyptic world, but it's still sword and sorcery. In He-Man, Prince Adam is on an alien planet, but it's still high fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons-like stuff. The only real difference is He-Man had a much bigger production line, Entourage. So the toy line could keep coming out with new friends that you had to buy and collect because each one sold separately. But if I know He-Man is a bit more buff, but if you look at the two characters together, basically they're really pretty similar. And I truly think that if Thundarr continued, it could have been syndicated and possibly even gotten its own toy line. But either way, I think it at least inspired the launch of He-Man. Now, there have been many, many, many talks over the years of a reboot. And I don't think it's ever going to happen. But I do have kind of a dream team of who I think would make the Thundarr reboot. And I would go with Chris Hunnan from Sons of Anarchy. Oh, wait, you have to look out for age in this, because my hit parade came some time ago. He's a bit long in the tooth now, but back in the day. This one came from the WWE. I think he would have made the perfect Ookla. And Olivia Wilde, I think, would make the best Ariel. For a wizard, because in a movie about Thundarr, you're going to have one key wizard who is butting heads with the whole time, and I would have somehow incorporated Robert Ridgely into the part of the wizard. He sadly is no longer with us, so, I don't know, Bryan Cranston maybe? Anyone but Sacha Baron Cohen. I know, right? Have you heard? Does that not amaze you? But I digress. But anyway, so we can all still hold out hope for a Thundarr reboot. And you know what? It's gonna bug me. I'm gonna see if I can't find who played the voice of Ookla, because it's bugging me. So for those of you who are still watching, indulge me for 1 second while I find my notes from my notes, and according to these notes, Richard Corden was the voice actor and live action actor who did the voice, and again, was prolific through the 60s and into the 80s. But anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Please, in the comments below, insert who you'd like to see in a reboot of Thundarr, or, while on the subject, the reboot of He-Man. And please don't say Sacha Baron Cohen. But other than that, that's all I got for you today. Be good, be safe, be careful. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.